Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining tonight's session. All right. Hey, Ronnie. Okay, I'm gonna get started. No worry. If you have any questions throughout, feel free to just send a message in the chat. Oh, perfect. Oh, you can't hear me? Oh, really? Hmm. Can you hear me now? Let's see. Are you, can you hear me? I don't know. Okay, cool. All right, perfect. I'll just do this. Yeah, they can hear me. Okay. All right, I will get started. And yeah, if you have any questions throughout, feel free to interrupt me or just pop into the chat. I'll leave it up as well. Okay, cool. So in this session, I'm going to go over Dotloop and the MLS. So I'll pop into those. Let me just get that. All right. And I'll go slideshow version. So we're going to go over how to use Dotloop, the various questions, any questions you might have on what documents that you'll need for both a listing and a buyer sale. So both sides, like if you're representing the seller, that's obviously your listing. And then if you're representing the buyer, when you're under contract, what documents you'll need. Then we're going to go over, we'll meet the affiliates, show you where you find some scripts, and then open houses and how to look those up in the MLS. Okay, oops. Before I actually go into these, let me play this actually. I'll play this video for you to introduce you to our affiliates, which is going to be, we're affiliated with Cross Country Mortgage, and those are our lenders. So if you have a buyer that has not been pre-approved, definitely send them to the lender. They'll get them pre-approved. You just have to email Don or Sean your client's information and be like, hey Don, this is Kelly. She still needs, can you give her a call? She needs to get pre-approved. And then they'll call them that day. Just provide them with the last name, first name, last name, as well as their contact information. And then you have Ohio Real Title, which is our escrow and title company that we're associated with. And they work with you when you have a deal under contract. And the buyers are the ones who pick the title company. So that is the best, like Ohio Real Title. If your buyer's like, oh, I don't know what title company to choose, just provide them with the contact information. And after the Zoom, I'll give you all of these contacts. Here is a video, and I just want to share it with you before we get started.
Hi, my name is Sean Hadley. I'm a loan officer and branch manager for Cross Country Mortgage, and you can find me at the Keller Williams Pepper Pike office. Look forward to meeting with you.
Hi, I'm Don Jarecki with Cross Country Mortgage, and I service the West Side, the Rock River office. I look forward to meeting each and every one of you.
Hi, Keller Williams, Greater Metropolitan. My name is Janelle Kiefer with Ohio Real Title, and I am the East Side Sales and Marketing Rep. Look forward to working with you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer O'Malley with Ohio Real Title. I service KWGM on the west side. I hope to see you soon. Have a great day.
Hello, my name is Gina Legeza, and I'm the Area Sales Manager with America's Preferred Home Warranty. I am your point of contact for all things home warranty. Please reach out to me and schedule a one-on-one appointment so that you can learn how important home warranty is for you and your clients. I am looking forward to working with you.
Cool. All right. Perfect. Okay, so that gives you a little bit on our title, lenders, and Ohio Real Title, Cross Country Mortgage, and America's Preferred Home Warranty. And just to give you a little insight too, if you go to 297 agent, just gonna put this in the group. This website, and then you go to MC Info and click on affiliate. This is where you will find all of their information. So actually, so you have Sean, Don, Chris, and then Ohio Real Title over here, Gina Legeza, and then we also do have a property management company ran by Jessica Ivins, and this is her information as well. You want to go to their website, click right here, and those are for like rentals and things like that. And then Ohio Real Title, this is their website. Just kidding. Ohio Real Title, if you just type in their website, Ohio Real Title, their homepage, when you have a deal under contract and your buyers are like, where do I send the escrow, or where do I send the earnest money? And you're using Ohio Real Title, where you will direct them to send the earnest money is going to be Ohio Real Title website. So their very homepage. And then on this homepage, you'll find right here, earnest deposit. You click on that. And right here, you would just type in the property address that your client and you are under contract with. Confirm, I'm not a robot, and make payment. So you don't have to worry about your clients writing a check and delivering it or putting it through the mail. You can just deposit right here on the site. Now, that being said, when you have a deal that's under contract and you need to tell the title company, attached is the contract for the property, you have buyer and seller signatures, and you want to send your new order to Ohio Real Title so that they will then assign a title or escrow person to your file. And I'll get more into that when I'm in Dotloop. All right, so let's pop into Dotloop. And tonight I'm gonna go and create a loop for a listing. So a listing loop. Now, when you go to add a new loop, so you're representing the seller, click right here, click add loop. Type in the property that you are preparing the listing for. So I'm gonna, for example, type in, I'll put my parents' address. Actually, I'm gonna do this one. Field Village, Ohio. And then And then we're gonna label it seller Kelly. Okay. Then I'm gonna click continue. Loop template. So since I'm representing the seller, I'm gonna click listing loop. Continue. Done. All right, now I'm gonna click view loop. Now all these documents will be pre-populated once you click listing loop. So all the documents required for your listing are gonna be, this is a little checklist. That's gonna be the consumer guide, exclusive right to sell, the residential property disclosure, the lead-based paint, showing time input form. You're also gonna want the ABA signed by your buyers, or I mean, sorry, signed by your sellers, as well as this America Preferred Home Warranty. Now, your sellers do not need to provide the home warranty for buyers, but if they are interested in including a home warranty to the buyers, basically it's a nice and enticing way to get buyers more interested in the property, knowing that the home warranty is included. And what a home warranty is it is coverage for the appliances. So say your seller provides the buyer with a whole, like a year-long home warranty, then within that year, the buyer is covered if there's any issues when it comes to like the refrigerator or the dishwasher. That home warranty then covers those issues. Another thing that you will want to have in here is going to be the residential listing input. So this sheet, pop into it, is what you will refer to when you're inputting a new listing into the MLS. Now, before you got complete access to the MLS, you had to watch a 45-minute video on how to input a listing. This is exactly that. So autofill is going to be your best friend in a lot of it. So if you know the street address, the more information you put into the loop, the better, and the better autofill will work for you. And then it's gonna be Ohio. 3. All right. So if you already know what day that you and your buyers or you and your sellers are going to list, you would add that date here. So let's just pretend we want to go live tomorrow. Perfect. Let's do that. All right, I'm gonna click autofill. So this is kind of just a reference sheet for you to use when you start inputting everything into the MLS. You'll just cross-reference this with the MLS input. That's after, but sorry, Megan. Dotloop is going to be the very first thing you do. Dotloop and MLS are going to kind of work hand in hand. Put the info in from so you can even bring this with you, this listing input sheet. You could bring this with you to your listing presentation with your seller because they may know a lot of this information. For example, like obviously this top part, no worries, we'll get into what you put here. It's basically just saying the property address. Your agent ID is going to be your license number, agent name. You don't need to put the owner's information. This is going to be warranty. Like, is the home warranty, are you going to include one? Yes or no? You would have your sellers choose that. What does your sellers, after you run a CMA, which is basically you'll discuss with your sellers where they see their house price at, then you'll present to them what you want to price it at. And you kind of negotiate and work with them on the pricing based on the various houses that sold within the area. And I'll share a video with you guys on a really good example of how to do a CMA. But this is where you'll put the list price. And again, like you will put all the information on this document so that when you go into the MLS, you can just look at this document and it'll be like screen by screen. You'll be able to input everything. So for example, let's just pretend we already did a CMA. We want to list the house with the sellers and you agree that the house should be listed at 350. Expiration date. Now it's completely up to you. And again, based on your discussion with the sellers, you can do a 3-month listing, a 6-month listing. I recommend doing a 6-month listing. So the list date is the date you go live. So the date you get your document signed in Dotloop, and it's going to expire 6 months from the list date. So 6 months from February, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be August 16th. So that's going to be your expiration date. Now, some people do a year-long listing, but most common is going to be that 6-month listing agreement. And when I say listing agreement, I'm talking about the exclusive right to sell agreement. So this is going to be exclusive right to sell. You do not, listing type is basically, you're going to be using showing time, so you don't need to worry about that. Online bidding, no. You don't really need to fill out any of these areas. You don't need to say occupant type. If it's vacant, you can say that the property is vacant. You can say if there's a tenant in the property, you'll definitely need to disclose that. And if the owner still lives there, you can always check this box, say owner still lives there, allowing showings. All right. Now, when it says special listing conditions here, you don't need to worry about this unless the sellers are specific. Like, it's obviously you're not, this, for example, for this purpose, we're not gonna do one that's for auction, of went bankruptcy or in foreclosure or as part of HUD. We're gonna just do a regular, there's no special listing conditions, so we're not going to fill out any of this. Now, if you were selling your home, you need to disclose that you're a real estate agent and you own the house. So real estate owned is what you would need to put there. Other than that, when it says possession, what you'll do is time of transfer. So what this means is when the title transfers into the buyer's name, that's when they'll take possession. So time of transfer means when the title is then put into their name, the buyer's name, and it's no longer yours, that's when they'll take possession. So time of transfer is the most common here. Listing terms, what this means is what are your sellers looking to accept? Cash offers, conventional, which is conventional loans, VA loans, which is going to be your veteran loans, or FHA loans, which is like first-time home buyer loans. Majority of the time, you're just going to do cash, conventional, FHA, and VA. These are going to be all of those things that you will check off in the MLS. Again, we're filling this out to then cross-reference when we're putting the listing in the MLS. All right. Now, the seller pays both commissions, both yours and the buyer's commission. That being said, you could charge your seller 7% of the listing price, and then you split that 7% between you and the buyer. That you'll agree upon during your listing presentation with them. All right, you don't need to put that in right now. You'll just click grad. You do not need to fill this part out. You will not need to know the total tax per year. So you'll just put in the amount of tax. So this year's 2024, you'll put in what the annual tax rate was for that property in 2023. And you'll find this information in the MLS on relist. And you'll also find assessment and homestead exempt in relist in the MLS. Okay. And if homeowners association also means HOA. So if there was an HOA associated with the property you're listing, you'll need to get in contact with the homeowners association, which the sellers will provide that information to you. And you'll be aware if there's a homeowners association because you'll know it's a development and they probably do have a fee to take care of, whether it be the lawn, take care of the grounds work, take care of the driveways and things like that. That will be homeowners association would be associated with the property if the sellers pay a monthly or annual fee to an HOA. And that's where it says, like, obviously you'll write an amount here. Is that paid annually, monthly, quarterly? You'll know more from the sellers. And if they are HOA, what you paying that amount, what does that cover? This is for condo information. Again, if your client lives in a condo but owns their own condo, they probably still pay an HOA fee, and they also may have a maintenance fee. So just be aware of that as well, and definitely get in touch with the homeowners association so that you get all of the documents from that, because you're going to need to provide that to the buyers. All right. This is only for mobile home, about land lease. So if it's a mobile home, there may be a land lease attached to it. Again, the sellers would know, but regardless, on regular homes, it's going to be no. You'll know to contact the homeowners association because the sellers will have all that information. They pay the HOA fees monthly, annually, and they'll have that information for you. All right, so here, total rooms, you don't need to fill that out because once you fill out if there's a family room, living room, kitchen, it'll add up all those rooms for you. Total number of beds, for example, 4 beds main. How many beds are on the first floor? So in this case, we're going to say none. All 4 bedrooms are on the second floor. Full bath. 2 full bath, obviously have a shower or bathtub. Half bath is not going to include a shower bathtub, so we could just say 1. Laundry, how many laundries are there? There's just 1, and it's in the basement, so that means lower. So I'm going to put 1 right here. Then I'm going to put a 0 here. There's none on the main floor, and there's none on the upper floor. Half bath, there's none in the basement. There's 1 on the main floor. 1 on the main floor. And there's none on the upper floor. Then I'm going to do 2 full baths on the upper floor, 0 on the main floor, and 0 in the basement. That's how you would fill out this little chart. All right. Now, when you get to here, this just kind of gives you an example of various names of rooms. Not every house is gonna have a great room or an eat-in kitchen, but a lot of houses will have a living room, family room, kitchen. So anyway, so you could, if you know the room dimensions, I would put them in here. Now, a good way to look up those, I'm gonna pop in the MLS and I'll show you side by side. Okay. So once you go into the MLS, I recommend before inputting the property into the MLS, look if it's ever been listed in the MLS. Oops, sorry guys. Oh, all right. Okay, I'm just gonna minimize that too. Okay. So you'll want to type in the property here. Search. Okay, cool. So the property like your buyer or your sellers were the last people to buy the house. So it has been listed in the MLS before. So right here you saw that they purchased a home in 2021 and now they want to list their home with you. It sold in 2021 for $379. Wow. So you'll click on here. And since this was a very recent listing, what you'll want to ask your sellers, and you want to do this probably before you meet with them so that you kind of have a better idea on their property. What you'll want to do with your sellers is see if they've had any updates with the property since they purchased it. You want to make note of that. If they did any add-ons, if they took down any walls, did any other improvements. Since they've only had the house for a little under 3 years, then they may have not done much to the house, which is ideal because then this MLS listing is going to be super easy for you to input because no changes have been made with the property. Okay, and I'll go back to show you where I searched this. So when I'm in the home page for the MLS, so first you start here. This is your home page, and then you'll always want to click on Matrix. And it yells at me that I haven't read these. I'm just going to read later. Then this right here, this search bar, do not use this search bar. Always use this one. This is going to be the search bar you look for when you're looking up any properties. If your buyers send you a house that they want to go look at and you want to schedule a showing, you'll look it up here. So when you get here, you'll type in the property address because it says street number and the street name is Beach Hill. Then I click search. Every time this property was listed in the MLS, it will show me when it was sold. And it'll show me this one expired, X means expired, and it did not sell. This one means it sold in 2004, this one sold in 2019, and now the latest, it sold in 2021. And then I clicked on the most recent one because this is going to be the one you'll reference when you start inputting it into the MLS. And again, when those questions come about, like, hey, have you guys done any improvements? Did you make any rooms bigger, add any rooms? That will all come into play. Now, here you'll just kind of scroll through, see an update about the house. All right. Cool. So this property actually sold for $379 back in 2021. Now, when you go to input this into the MLS, you could honestly just use this information And then if your sellers did do any improvements to the house, cater the listing accordingly. So if they made the family room bigger, obviously, well, they didn't put any measurements in here. So a lot of the times agents have been lazy and don't put dimensions of the properties. It's not a requirement, but you can do it if you have the dimensions. Oops. But as you can see, they did not put dimensions. They didn't put what kind of floor each room is. So it looks like they just put it in quickly, but you can still use the information from this sheet. So that being said, the MLS, the old MLS number is right here, 4311454. You'll want to copy this. Now you want to input this listing into the MLS. Home screen. You go to input. When you click on input, it'll bring up this page. Then you'll go to add new. You're adding new, residential. Sorry, I went too fast there. Okay. So here, you want to click add new. I just want to make sure yes, you want to add new using the old MLS number so it pre-populates all of the information from the old MLS number. Cool, I'm glad everyone's following. So when you click add new, and then I clicked on residential, here I'm going to click on copy listing, fill from existing. When I do that, right in this box, I'm going to paste that old MLS number because I'm going to fill from the old MLS number. Fill from. Now, all that information that the old MLS number had is just going to pre-populate here. It says not found on map. What you do here is you click get latitude long. You click on this #1 button, click that. You're good to go. Then you just click update map. And now there is a latitude and longitude for the property there. So right now this screen looks great. It has the street address, has Mayfield Village, Beach Hill Road, the school district. Cool. So how you input everything is you just follow along up here. So this automatically will pre-populate your information. Oops. This goes into, again, so this is where it's nice when you cross-reference what you already found and you went over everything. So like if you bring this document with you to your listing appointment, you'll have all the information ready to then input it into the MLS. Yes. Even if you were listing an expired listing or a sold listing, all you really need to do is fill from a previous MLS where it was listed. You just get that old MLS number. Or you can also fill from relist text. Yes, and this is going to be the page that you're going to make those updates to, because this page is not going to have the information that you'll need for your seller. So your seller you will agree to a list price, and that's where you obviously will put that. Listing contract date. Yes, you will use. Well, you'll already have completed this in the ML. You'll already have completed this information with your buyer or with your sellers. Gosh, I keep saying buyers. I recommend popping in the MLS to see if it was ever listed before you go on your listing appointment, to just have an idea of the property before you actually go to your listing appointment. But yes, you will not do any of the MLS work until you do all of the Dotloop work. You're going to want to do Dotloop before MLS. So basically, you'll have this already filled out to an extent. You'll fill this out with your sellers. And then you'll go into the MLS and kind of compare what your sellers have, what the MLS says, and see which is the most to date. And obviously your sellers, you're at the house, you'll know like the laundry is going to be in the basement. Like you'll get a tour of their house. Yes. And you'll want to do everything in Dotloop prior to putting anything in the MLS, because you need to complete the residential property disclosure with your sellers, the lead-based paint with your sellers. You'll need to have them sign the exclusive right to sell agreement, which is going to be the listing agreement. So exclusive right to sell agreement and listing agreement are the same thing. So if anybody's like, what, like, did you get the listing agreement signed? That's the exclusive right to sell agreement. Yeah, so just kind of like going through this so that when you go to input everything in the MLS, you can just breeze through it. One of the biggest things too is you need to go over the showing rules with your clients. So by that, I mean, get your clients' day-to-day schedule. When do they want listings? If they're like ready, rock and rolling, and they want listings from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., great. You just make note of that in your showing requirements. You'll be like, appointments are available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I will get more into that. And again, you'll want all of this information completed before inputting it into the MLS. You could kind of work hand in hand with the MLS and Dotloop inputting information, but before anything goes active in the MLS, you will need to have all the documents signed in Dotloop first. Yes. So you should do whatever, basically what the MLS rule is the date, this is going to be your listing agreement, this exclusive right to sell agreement. The date you put here that the property is going active, and the date your sellers sign this document, the sellers are going to sign right here. Those need to be within, if not either the same day or the day after or the day before. They need to sign this document around the same date it's going to be active, but that 48 hours. So say you put that, I put that we're going active tomorrow. My seller signed today, and I don't make the property active until Monday. That's when I can be flagged. This also applies for vacant homes. So even if your sellers don't live at that property right now, they still need to sign this within that 48-hour period. Basically, like, you don't want to make your property active until you get this signed. And then you are good to go to then make it active within that 48-hour window. Does that make sense? So like based on this, you have 48 hours based on the latest date. So if my seller signed this, say they had signed it yesterday, and we want to go live on Friday, that's fine. We just need to make it live by Sunday, the latest, or else we need to get this document re-signed because I need to change the date. You need to get it active within the 48 hours of either this being signed or this date being 48 hours. A 48-hour window. So this document is what's needed in. This is going to be your listing agreement. This is going to be your exclusive right to sell agreement. This is going to be the biggest thing you'll need to get signed. One of the biggest things you'll need to get signed by your sellers before going active, period. Obviously, you would fill this out with the property information. Before I get into that. So before I fill out all these documents, what you'll want to do is add your sellers to the loop. You're just adding them to the loop, but you're not sending them any documents yet. You're just getting their information to the loop. For example, I'm gonna just oops. Right, I'm the seller. Okay. Yes, once we add the seller's information, it'll be so much easier to then autofill documents. So obviously, if there's two sellers, you'll put, if there's a husband and wife, you'll put both of their information. Okay, we'll just pretend there is. No, actually, never mind. Because I'm going to show you an example of when I sign it, and I'm not going to wait for my sign. So if there's a husband and wife, you'll need to add both of them to the loop, and they'll need different emails. And I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's signed and things like that. So that's the only reason why I didn't add another person. Okay. So even if you pop into this checklist for listing. Bill. All right. So the checklist for listing, once you get the exclusive right to sell, the MLS printout can come later. You need to get the exclusive right to sell filled out, the residential property disclosure, the lead paint, the consumer guide. The ABA is the affiliated business arrangement. No matter what, you're going to need the home warranty in every transaction you do. Even if your buyer doesn't want to pay for one, if your seller doesn't want to pay for one, you still need to get this home warranty signed. But it will just be signed saying that they're waiving the document. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay. And then, as you can see, all of the starred items. Oh, actually, this needs to be starred. So residential property disclosure and lead paint disclosure both need to be starred. Every single one of these documents, minus the MLS printout, this one needs this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one are all the documents you're going to need before your listing goes live. To know which all that. Yeah, so all these are all the documents you'll need before your property goes live. CSS means central showing time. That's like their old name, but showing instructions, you'll need this information when your MLS goes live. Okay. All right. So that being said, when I was talking about the America's Preferred Home Warranty, all right. So in the America's Preferred Home Warranty, if your clients do not want the home warranty, your sellers do not want to provide a home warranty, no worries. I'm going to assign this to no one. So no one needs to sign there. But your sellers will need to waive, as you can see, this is waived. So we're going to waive this document. My seller is not providing this to the buyer. I need to have it waived. No matter what, if you're representing the seller, they need to waive it or purchase it for the buyer. If you're representing the buyer and they don't want it for the new house, like if you're representing the buyer to buy 841 Beach Hill Road and they don't want to purchase a home warranty, you still need to have them sign that they want to waive it. So in all of your transactions, you'll need to have this filled out. All right. Let's pop back into the exclusive right to sell. So we only do exclusive right to sells. Like if you do a short sale or an auction or get into that, I would definitely then maybe even write in the Facebook group or talk to, I think I'll obviously you guys will be introduced to your productivity coach to guide you through your very first transactions. But for the most part, majority of our listings are going to all be exclusive right to sell listings. So in this document, you'll put the property address, city. So say like you have this issue, like, okay, this box is too small. Right here, you could literally change the font sizes at any time so that everything fits. Like, click. And you can just, when you click on the box, that's how you change the font sizes, by clicking on the box. Releases of agents or community. Yeah, we can be landlords, we can be tenant, we can represent landlords, we could be the landlord, we can represent tenants. That is we have a lease agreement and things like that in a different loop. Right now, I'm just doing a seller's loop. But if you were to choose at the beginning to add a loop and use the template for a lease or a listing lease. Listing lease means you represent the landlord and a lease means you represent the tenant. Yes, and there's a checklist for both of those as well. Okay. So this is going to be where you put that purchase price on. Okay. This is going to be, you'll find this off the MLS, what the tax ID number is. You'll find that information in the MLS. Okay. So not to confuse anyone, I'll get back to this actually. So you'll put that information in the MLS. Then the listing price that you guys want to list the property at is, we agreed on 350. We want to do a 6-month agreement here. So that's gonna be August. This right here, brokerage shall extend offer of compensation. So right now, this exclusive right to sell agreement says you're charging the seller 7%. That is split between you and the buyer's agent. Now, you could split it like a 3-2, which means that the buyer would get 3% of the first 100K and 2% of the remaining balance. So for example, all right, I'll show you that. So say we sold the property at 350. Times 7% equals 24,500. Make note of that. Okay. And now, if you are giving the buyer's agent 3-2, which is 3% of the first 100K and 2% of the remaining balance. How I calculate that is, okay, so 3% of the first 100K is already going to be 3,000. So I'm just going to subtract 100K from 350 equals 250 times 2% equals 5,000. So then 5,000 plus that 3,000, because that's 3% of the first 100K, equals 8,000. The buyer's agent is gonna receive 8,000 in commission. And then you are going to receive so then yours would be times 7%. Your commission would then be the 24,500 minus the 8,000. $16,500. Wow, that's crazy. That's with the 7% and giving your buyer's agent a 3-2. 3% of the first 100K and 2% of the remaining balance. Does that make sense? So what your sellers are paying is both your commission and buyer's commission. So if they're paying 7% of the purchase price, you're going to split that amongst you and the buyer. And the buyer is making 3% of the first 100K and 2% of the remaining balance. Totally ignore my math if you know how to calculate that. I kind of do a different way too. Yeah, I agree. That's crazy how much you make on a listing rather than buyer side. So you'll never know, if you're representing the buyer, you'll never know how much the seller's making. But if you're the seller, if you're the selling agent, you'll always know how much the buyer's agent's making and how much you're making because your client is paying the commission. So the equation we're using is 350 is your sale price. That's how much the property is selling for. We're just pretending like the property sold for 350. 7% of 350 is 24,500. So 7% right here, this is that 7% I'm talking about. 7% of 350. So I did 350 times 7% equals 24,500. Now we want to calculate the %. Okay. Yes. And then 3% of the first 100K and then 2% of the remaining balance. Correct. So 3%, basically 3 times equals, 3%. Okay, so 100K times 3% equals 3,000. So 3% of the first 100K is 3,000. And then we minus 100K. So 3% of the first 100K. So now we need to subtract 100K from 350. So we get 250. We multiply this by 2%. And then you get 5,000. And you want to add that 3,000 because that's 3% of the first 100K to the 5,000. And that's where you get 8,000. Now, you minus 8,000 from the 7%. Yes, exactly. So what you'll do here is 100 minus 8,000 equals, and this is 16.5. Cool. Oh, that is a lot. And now again, you can change this here to say your clients like, why do I have to pay 7%? Why can't I pay 6%? You can change this number to whatever you want, or you can just leave it at 7%. If you did want to change it, what you can do is add strike through. Say it's like a family friend and you're like, okay, I'll list your property. You're basically showing them you're giving them a deal. So you cross that out and then you add here and you just do 6%. So you're basically saying you'll only have to pay a total of 6% of commission to both me and the buyer's agent. So I've seen agents do it like that, or again, I'm just kind of showing you how to use Dotloop. So add a strike through, that's where I got that, put it right over it. And then I went and clicked add text box. I added the text box right underneath it and then put in 6%. Cool. So now you're like, okay, I actually don't want to do that. Click on it. And then click the X. It'll disappear. Click on the box itself. Click the X. It'll disappear. Dotloop is super user friendly. A lot of the times the split between with the buyer's agent is a 3-2. So 3% of the first 100K and 2% of the remaining balance. So first you would list their house. And basically before they purchase, or if they're waiting to sell their house before they make a purchase, or if they're making your purchase, then when they go to buy that house. So Romani said, so I got a client that wants to sell their house, then buy. How do I do that? So if they want to, based on what your client wants, if they want to sell their house first and then start looking for a house, they can absolutely do that. Or if they are ready to buy a house now, but their house has not been listed, basically, when you write the offer for the house they want to buy, you would have to put in there contingent on selling their house, because they most likely want to use the funds from what they sell their house for to buy that new house. So I would recommend definitely getting your clients listed, their property listed, while they start looking for houses, if it will be contingent on selling their house to then buy that new house. That makes sense. Okay. So you will complete all of this information. This again is that limited home warranty. Are you including it? Are you not including it? If they have the funds to buy a new house without selling their house right away, So you will be doing two contracts. You'll be dealing with listing. You'll be dealing with the listing side as well as the buyer side when you start looking at those properties to make offers and write, properties, like when you go to write an offer, you're now gonna be in a purchase agreement. So your seller client is also gonna then become your buyer client. Yeah, I recommend first listing their house, whether it sells or not, at least it's listed so that it has the opportunity to sell while they start looking for a house. Cause then when they find a house they like, in that time, hopefully somebody would have already purchased their home. Kind of like, it's almost like a game trying to quickly sell and buy at the same time. But instead of their house being like waiting for people to then, instead of them buying before you list their house, you may not win your offers because when when a seller sees that you have a house to sell before you can afford their house, that then kind of makes your offer less enticing to them, if that makes sense. And this doesn't happen in every situation. I'm just giving you just examples. So you'll want to basically educate your clients saying, let's get your house ready to sell so that when you do find the house that you want to purchase, you could work hand in hand with selling and purchasing. Because they'll want to use that money to buy that new house. Okay, cool. That's a good question. Great question, guys. Here again, definitely make yourself familiar with this document, read through it. I'm just going over it briefly. Sorry, running out of time. So then I'm going to say the seller does not elect limited home warranty. I'm going to make sure that my seller waives the home warranty. I'm going to make sure that my seller signs here. I only have one seller, so I don't need another signature. I click on the box. I click X to delete it. Oh, you're welcome. And then this is actually going to be where you sign. So, however you want to do it, you could sign it now. Cool. All right. Save. You filled out everything. Good. Every time it's going to ask you, would you like to share it? I'm going to say no, because I want to make sure that I fill out all the documents I need my client to buy. Or I'm sorry. I need to make sure that I fill out all the documents that I need my client to sign and then send it to them. So I need my client to sign the consumer guide, assign field to your client, save. Then when I go back, it says, would you like to share? I'm going to say no. Then to be specific, when it comes to residential property disclosure, this you will need your clients to fill out completely. Like, you don't want to autofill anything. I'm Xing out. Your clients are going to need to fill this out because your clients are the ones who have lived in the home for X amount of years. In this case, we're pretending like our clients bought the property in 2021. So they've only lived there for 3 years. But in that 3 years, what has your client experienced? Like, have they had any sewer issues? Was there any water in the basement, roof? Did they have a leak in the roof and then fix it? Like this is all, like you are legally not allowed to fill this out for them. They need to fill it out because they have lived in the house, so they know of any issues. And if there are ongoing problems, you will need to disclose that in here. If there was an ongoing problem, a leak in the roof, and your buyers just spent, or your sellers, gosh, I keep saying buyers, your sellers just spent $10,000 to fix that issue, you will still make sure to note that here. So kind of educate your clients on what this document means and how important it is for them to disclose everything. They lived in the house, so they need to fill this out based on the time that they've lived in the house. Again, have them fill all of this out and then sign it. So you can still assign it to them to sign, but when you go, I'll show you what to do here. So we filled out all these documents. We're going to pretend like we filled out all the documents. Let's go ABA. We need them to sign. This one, you can autofill. Good. My seller needs to sign there. Perfect. It already assigned it to her. I'm going to save. Okay, you're welcome, guys. Thank you for the thank yous. Yes, do not autofill the residential property disclosure. Or the lead-based paint. This one isn't as strict, but it is for your clients, your sellers to fill out and not you. Basically, it's saying, has there been any presence of lead-based paint in the property that they know of? Majority of the time, it's going to be a no, but if it is a yes, they need to disclose that for sure. Yeah, so lead-based paint and the residential property disclosure need to be filled out by your sellers. Now, you want to share everything with your seller to complete. So what you'll do is check all of the documents that you pre-filled out minus the residential property disclosure and the lead paint. Put them next to each other. All of these documents you'll need. Then once you check them, you go here and click share. And right here, you do can fill and sign, because you're going to want your clients to fill out that residential property disclosure. So you're going to want to give them permission to fill and sign. Before it just said can sign, you want them to fill and sign because they have boxes to fill out with that residential property disclosure. And then here you can say, hi, your seller's name is Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Obviously, you can send them an email or a text or give them a phone call and let them know that you sent them the documents for them to sign once you have that first initial meeting. But you can say, attached are the documents for you to listing documents that we went over for you to please complete and sign. Please let me know if you have any questions. And then you can go ahead and click share. All right, cool. So as soon as you share, this is what you'll see, waiting on others. So to uncheck anything, I always just like click this box, click it again, and everything gets unchecked. Real quick, I want to tell you the showing time input form. This is what you'll also, along with that MLS listing input sheet, what you'll also want to put in is the showing time listing form, because you'll need to put instructions for all of the people that are going to look at the house. So all of the buyer's agents, you need to put in instructions here. So like, for example, it's a new listing, it's going live tomorrow, write the property address. Mario, 3, okay. Like, capital. Okay, so you want in-person appointments only. Virtual appointments, I mean, basically like in-person appointments mean that person has to come to look at the property. Like you're not giving them a link to virtually look at it. But like say somebody from a different state wants to FaceTime you to look at the property, that's completely fine. You can totally do that. This just means like in-person appointments, like you have to go to the property in person to FaceTime them. Then here, appointment type, very crucial to fill this out. If your buyer does not live there, you can always set a go and show, because what that means is no matter what, the appointment is going to be approved because there's no schedule that you're disrupting. You can still give like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. time blocks, but that means that like everything will be approved right away because your client doesn't live there anymore. So the more people that go in, the merrier. That's what go and show means. And again, you'll go over this with your clients, so you'll kind of want to see what they want. But say your clients do still live there, then you're going to be going to do appointment required confirmation with any. For the most part, appointment required confirmation with all. That means like if both of the sellers need to approve the showing, you can do confirmation with all. But if one of the sellers just needs to approve the showing, you can just check that. Lead time, no same day appointments, and lead time. If your client if your client needs like 2 hours notice, you'll need a lead time. But if your client's like, okay, somebody wants to look at the house, they're at the house, it's 11, somebody wants to come look at the house at 11:30. And if they're like, okay, I can leave for 15 minutes or 15, 20 minutes while they look at the house, then you don't need any lead time. Do not check that box. Share showing agent info. Yeah. Yes. I mean, you kind of want to know what agent came to the property to look at it. You want their information so you can follow back up with them to say like, hey, what does your client think of it? How do you think it's priced? What do you think of the conditions? Is your client interested? You want to follow up with every agent that brings a client and looks at the property. Super helpful there, because then you kind of get insight from other agents and what they see so that you can tell that to your client. So say we overpriced the property and we don't think we did, but we're getting feedback that the property is overpriced and we have been listed for 3 weeks now and no action. Then the property is probably overpriced. So you just kind of want to like take that feedback and definitely gauge it up on the price. So the question was, if we are a listing agent but do not sell it, do we get commission? No, you do not. Then basically the listing then expires, and either you need to sign with your clients a new listing agreement, like, hey, within that 6-month period, we weren't able to sell it, but I have some new marketing tactics that I want to use, yada, yada. Can I list with you again? Or you can always like co-list with another agent, whatever you want. I actually had this happen at the office. One of the agents lost a listing. They had a 3-month And in that 3 month, it was literally like when those interest rates went super high, they weren't able to sell the property and the listing expired and they actually went with a different agent to relist it. That sometimes happens as well. And honestly, it's like nothing of fault to the agent at all. It just was really bad timing, honestly. And he was kicking himself that he did a 3 month instead of a 6 month because it could have accounted for those additional days that the interest rates went down. All right, sorry, I'm gonna wrap it up. But this is again, this needs to be filled out because you're gonna want to submit this form to showing time so that when you make your property live in the MLS, showing time will already have all this information. And as soon as a buyer's agent or a buyer wants to look at the house, they could schedule it right away. If this is not complete, then showing time isn't going to coordinate showings for the house. So you do need to complete this. You need to complete this before the property goes active. As soon as it goes active, as soon as you make the property active in the MLS, you will submit this to showing time. So real quick, when you go into minimum appointment length. So what's the minimum? Probably 15 minutes. What's the maximum appointment length? Again, kind of go over it with your client or with your sellers, so your clients. I would say maximum 30 minutes, just so you kind of, and again, depending on how big this house is, but you want to give like enough time for the clients to look at the house, especially if they're interested. But you also want to keep it moving for other appointments to schedule throughout the day. So minimum 15, maximum 30, maximum 45, whatever you want to do. And then here is where you write who is going to mark that confirmation. You can put you would put your information here. Your mobile phone number. And now you're just gonna just send me an FYI that the showing got approved. And please just text me, is what you're saying here. Your seller is going to be the one who wants to approve the showings. So if your seller's like, hey, I want to approve the showings before, I want to confirm the showings beforehand, then you get with them and you're like, okay, you want to confirm? Do you want them to call you, email you, or text you? 99% of the time, I want to confirm text. I'm sorry, notification of confirmed and canceled appointments. Let me know via text. Notification of confirmed and canceled appointments. Let me know via text. And again, obviously, if they choose the text option, make sure they give you their cell phone number or else it won't work. Yes, and so you want to fill this all out. Then here, appointments overlap. Do you want appointments to overlap? Do you not want appointments to overlap? That's where you would fill that out. Buffer time would only be available if you set this to no. You can just say, yes, please inform, but majority of the time they won't overlap if the appointment requires confirmation. They will overlap if it's a go and show. Okay, and then this is going to be how the buyer's agent accesses the property. So if it's a lockbox, you're going to want to click combo. Then here, you're going to want to put the combination number. So if it's a lockbox, 2146 is the lockbox code to the Rocky River office. And then you're gonna wanna put where you put your lockbox. So did you put it on the front door? Did you want them to come in on the back door? Did you want them to come in on the side door? Wherever you put the lockbox is where you're gonna check that. So the lockbox is located on the front door and the combo is 2146. If there's an alarm system, probably just ask your clients to just turn that off in the meantime, but if need be, fill that out accordingly. And then any other notes, like notes to the showing agent, so the buyer's agent. Please leave your card, lock the door behind you. You can have them turn off the light. Obviously, hopefully they would scramble the lockbox when they leave. Remove shoes or wear booties. Return and secure the key in the lockbox. Hopefully agents would do all of the above. If there's something specific that your client needs to add in there, or you need to add in there to the agents that are showing the house, definitely make sure to put that. Like if there's a cat in the house, absolutely make note of that. Please do not let the cat out. Like that should be key. Never want, you want to read this too, being a buyer's agent showing houses. The last thing you want to worry about is having pets escape the house when you're on a showing. So please do not let the cat out means like obviously close the door behind you. There's a cat inside. And that's what you would put there. And then again, this all is filled out with you prior with your clients. Once you make the property active, you submit this to showing time. And you can literally just email it to them. showings@showingtime.com. Give them a call. Showing time people are super, super nice. So are MLS people. Or just so you know, like they're very nice. Both of them are. So give them a call if you have any questions when you're sending it. Like, hey, did you get it? Hey, is there anything I need to add? Yada, yada. All right. So save that. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I'm glad because this was very important information. So I hope it was helpful for everyone. And then I'll get more in depth into this too. In the next Zoom session and at the new agent launch training sessions in person. Well, thanks so much for hopping on, guys. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks, bye.